A key feature of Aspire Beta is the ability to show selections in the 3D view and have those synchronized with the tables. So here I've docked the 3D view in the corner of the window, and so if I select a particular hole, you'll see that shows up in the table. Similarly, if I select another hole or a bend or a T, likewise they show up on a 3D view. Similarly, I can click in the tree and the same thing will happen here. I'm selecting a whole section, select the detector itself, select the whole pipe. Basically those things will then update the 3D view. But it actually goes further than that, that if I go to the detector and look at, say, the groups, then if I select a sample point somewhere within the group table, that's highlighted on the 3D view, and similarly selecting a sample point on a 3D view will update the table. And also that selection is shared between the group details and the sampling point sensitivity. So here we've got section 2.2. We go over here, we see the same point is selected there, and similarly the same behaviour here. Select a sample point here, it shows up in the 3D view, and again changing the 3D view shows up here. If you select something like a bend or some other feature that's not relevant to sampling point or group details, then obviously nothing will be selected up there. But you still get the same, all your options of being able to insert and delete, etc. are still available to you. Now, one thing that's not so apparent, if I go back to group details, is you can actually select a whole group. Now in this case this isn't particularly interesting, we've just got one group, but let's add a second group in here. And let's assign across some of those holes. Now in this case I'm actually deliberately making a mistake and including the first hole of the second section. But when I highlight it, you can see in the 3D view it's quite obvious now that I've picked up an extra point here that I shouldn't have. So hence being able to highlight groups gives you a very good feel of how the holes are going to aggregate together. Now I can select that whole group by selecting it in the table here, or vice versa. I can go to the 3D view and I can double click on a hole and it'll show me, essentially highlight all the holes associated with the group that that hole belonged to. So similarly, if I go and select double click on here, I'll get that first default group highlighted. Now that behaviour of the double click of actually selecting everything that's relevant for the context is very context dependent. So if I go over here to the pipes, I'm looking more at the pipe table, in that case double clicking means to select everything up to the parent branch. So if I double click at this point here, I'll select the whole pipe, double click down here, selects essentially just that whole section there. And you can see that if I just bring up the full 3D view, we'll just pull that here so we can see it. I go back here and just set it to a group, so we're working within the group details. I'll just bring that back up. You'll see that at the moment I've got the properties here of this sample point, this hole. When I double click on it, I'm actually getting the properties of the group that belong to. So all these things stay consistent. And that basically wraps up using selection within the Aspire Beta program.